Good morning. I am the Reverend Kim Mason. I use she, her pronouns. This morning is the beginning of a new year and our annual fire communion service. I don't know about you, but I still feel like I'm in that in-between period where it's like, what day is it? Are we full of cheese? We still have New Year's leftovers in the fridge. Anybody else? Yeah. I'm glad that we can be together this morning. Before we begin, I have one acknowledgement. Yesterday morning, we learned that the United States engaged in an unauthorized attack on Caracas, Venezuela, and abducted the president of that country. I share a short summary of a statement from the Unitarian Universalist Association and invite you to read the full statement at uua.org. The Unitarian Universalist Association condemns the Trump administration's military strikes against the country of Venezuela. These attacks were taken after months of U.S. military harassment, resulting in the deaths of Venezuelan citizens and undertaken without involvement of Congress, according to the published reports. As people of faith and conscience, it is essential to speak out now as the situation quickly escalates, creating dangers across the hemisphere. The people of Venezuela have the right, as all people do, to safety and self-determination. We urge our elected leaders and the courts to exercise definitive moral leadership to swiftly curtail these abuses of power and prevent this administration from causing further loss of life and violations of international law. I, like you, have many questions, many complex feelings. And so in times of certainty, gathering together is a comfort. We hold each other in community as this situation unfolds. Let our worship begin. I invite you into presence with these words. Once upon a time, chemists believed they could transform lead into gold or death into life. We laugh. But are we not also in the business of alchemy? Turning loneliness into connection, pain into comfort, anger into solidarity, faith into action. The subtle magic of church combines love with justice, creates hope out of fear, transforms individuals into community. Here, we engage in a holy alchemy, finding beauty in the ordinary and life in the present. Come, let us be transformed together. Please join as you are willing and able in our hymn of the month, number 119, Once to Every Soul and Nation.
We light our chalice this morning with the words of Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors. Our first reading of Transformation comes from the Dutch International Storytelling Center, the story of the phoenix. The phoenix is a mythical bird from Greek and Egyptian mythology. With beautiful red and gold feathers, it is a symbol of rebirth and renewal. There is a bird that lays no eggs and has no young, yet he always exists. He was there when the world began and is still with us today. Once, the bird had lived for 500 years and felt the end of his life was near. Day by day, he lost more and more of his strength. He realized he couldn't soar as high in the sky as he could before, nor fly as fast or far as when he was young. I don't want to live like this, he thought. I want to be strong again. So he lifted his head and sang, "Sun, glorious sun, make me new and strong again." But the sun didn't answer. Day after day, the bird sang. When the sun still didn't answer, he decided to return to the place where he had lived in the beginning of time and asked the sun once more. He flew across the desert, past the hills, through green valleys and over high mountains. The journey was long, and because he was old and weak, he had to rest along the way. Now the bird had a keen sense of smell and was particularly fond of herbs and spices. So each time he landed, he collected pieces of cinnamon bark and fragrant leaves. He tucked some in among his feathers and carried the rest in his claws and began to build himself a nest with the cinnamon bark at the top of the palm tree and lined it up with fragrant leaves. Finally, with everything ready, the bird sat down in his nest, lifted his head, and sang, "Sun, glorious sun, make me new and strong again." This time the sun heard him. Swiftly, it chased the clouds from the sky and stilled the winds and shone down on the mountainside with all its power. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. Flames leaped out of the nest, and the burn turned into a big, round blaze of fire. After a while, the flames died down. The tree had not burned, nor had the nest. But the bird was nowhere to be seen. In the nest remained a large heap of silver ash. Slowly, the ash began to tremble and heaved itself upward. Out of the ash rose up a new bird, small and crumpled. But soon he stretched his neck and lifted his wings and flapped them. Moment by moment he grew until he was the same size as before. He looked around, found an egg made of myrrh, and hollowed it out. He then placed the ashes inside and closed the egg. The bird lifted his head and sang, "Sun, glorious sun, I shall sing my song for you alone, forever and ever." Just as the song ended, the wind began to blow. Clouds scudded across the sky, and all living creatures crept out of their hiding places. It was time to start anew. This phoenix lives in all of us. It is our resilience. When life burns us down, we rise up from the ashes, fresh and anew, for new beginnings await us.
We resist despair and isolation when we share both our joys and our concerns. As I read the joys and concerns for this week, please feel free to come forward to put a stone in the bowl for those things weighing you down, and to take some bubbles and blow bubbles as you return to your seat for those things lifting you up. You may come forward now. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. In our community this week, we hold the complexity of the situation in Venezuela, acknowledging that many are feeling gratitude and relief at the overthrow of an authoritarian dictator, while at the same time, families are grieving the death of almost 40 people during the attack, and worry about the use of power and worry about what will come next. In our congregation this morning, we have a concern about the illegal and undemocratic use of military force in Venezuela. And we have a request for prayers for a good friend in memory care as she slides into the long goodbye that is Alzheimer's. We hold these concerns with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. And as a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another. In our community this week, there is happy news that a daughter, Sarah, eloped with her fiance on New Year's Day with only their children present. I wonder who Sarah is, and congratulations. We lift up these joys with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With so much remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention. Spirit of life and love, holy within and among us, as a new year begins, we turn inward to reflect on our lives. What has change burned through in our lives this last year? What seeds did we nurture in the ashes afterwards? What growth hovers nearby, ready to burst forth with new life? How will we embrace transformation in the year ahead? Spirit of life, source of change, As we pause from our regular rhythms, we open ourselves to new perspectives and possibilities. We give thanks for these moments and the wisdom they afford us. May they unite us in the sacred rhythms of life so that we, together and alone, might reach our full potential. Spirit of love, source of hope, as we move across this threshold, let this new year be one of transformation, exchanging cynicism for wonder, greed for sustainability, presumption for gratitude, anger for compassion, hurt for kindness and acceptance, and apathy for conviction. A more just, equitable, and inclusive world is not only possible, but is on the way. If only we let change happen in our lives and in the world. Love exists and can transform us. In the quiet of this space, we can feel it moving among us. May we be the conduits for it to flow beyond these walls and throughout the world. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Our second reading comes from mystery writer Kirsten Weiss. Newton studied it for 30 years. I've been reading this over and over and I cannot say it. Paracelsus called it the art, still got it wrong? Okay. Oh, it is a soft C. Okay. ChatGPT led me astray. Paracelsus called it the art that separates, I still said it wrong? That one dude called it the art that separates the impure from the pure. Charlatans trick kings into growing gold at the endeavor. What are we talking about? Alchemy. Not the cartoon version with bubbling pots and fools chasing literal gold, but the old art of turning what's heavy and dead inside us into something alive and luminous. Real alchemy isn't about literal elements, gold, sulfur, and mercury. It is this: taking the raw, the bitter, the rejected parts of a life and submitting them to heat, time, and precise attention until something luminous is born. It's a secret, deliberative labor. Burn away the gross, dissolve the ego, distill what remains, until the ordinary self starts to shine with something uncanny. People usually stumble into alchemy during the dark stretches, breakdowns, grief, the moment everything you work for stops working. But it's not another word for rock bottom. Rock bottom just leaves you bruised on the floor. Alchemy asks you to pick up the pieces and restart the fire in yourself.
The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Our contributions, yours, mine, support the mission and ministry of this congregation in the St. Louis region and beyond. This morning's offering will now be received. It is a gift anytime that a minister gets a chance to be out of the pulpit. I've seen some of the products from last Sunday's very creative Sunday cafe. You can read some of their conversation posted in the hallway downstairs. And so it is with gratitude that I recognize the worship committee for their hard work in leading last Sunday's service. Share your thanks with them. With appreciation for their hard work and for your gifts today and every day. Thank you. On August 16th, 2020, a thunderstorm in the Central Coast region of California sparked almost 11,000 bolts of lightning, which ignited hundreds of fires across the region. As the fires spread and merged, the event became known as the CZU Lightning Complex Fire, a series of forest fires that eventually covered more than 86,500 acres. Over the course of the fire, the CZU Complex Fire destroyed 1,490 buildings, engulfed the Big Basin and Butano State Parks, and came within 1 mile of the campus of UC Santa Cruz. We were all consumed with the pandemic. Anybody remember this happening? No, neither did I. As the fire burned through Big Basin State Park, it consumed all the leaves on the massive redwood trees. These tall sentinels on the California coast are some of the oldest and tallest trees in the world. The damage to those ancient beings was unimaginable, and scientists and park rangers wondered if the land would be changed forever. Mo is going to show us a picture. Yeah. What happened may seem like a miracle. It is definitely a marvel of nature. and is a lesson in resilience. Just months after the devastating fire, the redwoods in Big Basin began to regrow. Dormant buds beneath the bark of the trees were activated by the fire. Once the inferno passed, these buds sprouted, putting out new growth. Through study, scientists discovered that some of these buds had remained dormant for hundreds of years beneath the branches, waiting until circumstances called them to regenerate and restore the tree. Here's the tree canopy less than 1 year after the fire. You can see them starting. And here is the tree canopy 3 years after the fire. Miracles surround us every day. Nature is a wonder. Fire, like water, can be life-threatening. And fire, like water, can be life-giving. Pyrophytes are plants that have adapted to not only survive fire, but some even require it for their reproduction. Trees, such as the lodgepole pine, produce seeds that only open when superheated in a fire. Other plants, including many Australian wildfires, produce seeds that only germinate when exposed to the smoke of a wildfire. Once the growth process begins, these trees and plants then thrive in the nutrient-rich ash left after a forest fire. Fire is a necessary way of life for these plants. Fire transforms these plants. Fire regenerates these plants, much like the phoenix, whose story we heard earlier. These plants and animals thrive in relationship with the fire, which isn't always how we think of fire, and yet we too, reliant on the heat of the boiler system in the basement, also live in a symbiotic relationship with the fire. We usually think of fires as catastrophic, of lives and homes and wildlife lost. We think of them as dangerous. The New Year's Eve fire just a few days ago in Switzerland, one horrific example. Yet we have come to learn that it is also necessary. After decades of fire suppression efforts in our national forests and parks have caused more fires than they prevented, and we now know that prescribed burns prevent further damage. And controlled burns are used in farm management to clear crops, destroy weeds and pests, and release valuable nutrients back into the soil. Yet fire's negative connotation persists. In 2018, Merriam-Webster added the term dumpster fire to the dictionary, meaning an out-of-control and catastrophic disaster that is almost impossible to fix, evoking the sight and smell of a trash dumpster shooting flames. The term has stayed in the common lexicon ever since, in part, I think, because much of this decade has felt like a fire, poorly controlled and destroying everything in its path. And just when you think it's managed, a spark crosses the fire break to reignite on the other side. So much has changed. But what if we are pyrophytes? What if we are the phoenix? What if we need the fire to generate growth? What if we need something to spark creation? What if we need the fire to awaken our purpose? Ancient alchemists dreamed of transforming lead into gold. Each had their own process, their scientific calculations or their magical spells, maybe a little bit of both. Yet universally, all needed heat or fire to complete their process, to complete their transformation. Heat is necessary in alchemy for two reasons. One, it is part of the physical change, breaking down the old and causing chemical reactions. Second, it symbolizes the spiritual purification required for the work of alchemy. Psychologist James Hillman often used alchemy as a metaphor to understand the psyche, equating different stages in alchemy to different physiological and psychological processes and states. While his goal as a psychologist was wholeness and individuation, what he was seeking was nothing less than transformation. Transformation is one of our UU values, stated as, we adapt to a changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. The world is changing, and we are changing with it. Sometimes it feels like a fire burning us inside and out, but that is the heat of transformation. The old patterns that no longer served us are being burned away so that we might regenerate. The old beliefs that kept us dormant become the ash that nourishes our fresh growth. The heat cracks us open to a new way of being. On this cusp of a new year, we understand that the dumpster fire is a cauldron for transformation, and we are rising from the ashes. We have been heated to bursting, and out of the flames comes renewal, hope, and resistance. We do not know what the future holds, but we will thrive in the conflagration. Welcome to 2026. And now, if we have timed this all correctly, there are some children and the Reverend Sabrina waiting to come into the sanctuary. Ushers, can you check out there? Uh-oh, we didn't time this very well at all. While we wait for our kids, I'll start with the instructions for what's next. Each of you should have received on your way into the sanctuary a slip of paper and a very tiny pencil. And if you didn't get one, you can raise your hand. Whoop, they're behind you. There you go. If you didn't get one, raise your hand, and our ushers will bring you one. Be careful with this piece of paper. Oh, here they are. Wonderful. All right. I'll repeat those instructions in a minute. Alan's going to begin us with 188, and we're going to sing our children and youth in. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no carol than all. Right. So, Our fire communion ritual was crafted by the Reverend Erica Hewitt. The new year calls us forward, filled with mystery. And if you still have your hands up, they're coming. Kathy, there's a few folks over here. Keep your hands up. As we turn toward the new year, we take a final glimpse of the past year and reckon with all that it held for us. When you came in, the ushers gave you a special piece of paper. This is flash paper, which evaporates in fire. You're going to take your piece of paper and reflect on the year behind. Consider what you might leave in 2025, burning it brightly so that it is transformed. What parts of our lives, what things, ideas, people, ways of living have become obstacles to our becoming the people we want to be or the people we need to be? What's holding you back? What's getting in the way of living as fully as you'd like to? What might you burn away? Will you get me one too? Thank you. What will you relinquish? What seeds, good save. What seeds are buried within you that need the heat of fire to sprout to life? What buds of creation need the clearing of fire to grow? Write a word or two on the paper. Nobody will see it except you, the flame, and the universe. We'll pause here and give you a chance to reflect. In a moment, Alan is going to begin playing music. Allow that music to call you forward. I will stand here with the fire, which will start in just a moment. As you approach, you can hand your paper to me, and I will submit it to the flames. The flames will take it very quickly. I'll illustrate in a moment. If you are comfortable, you may submit the paper to the fire yourself with one caveat. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. No burns. The fire will do the work of releasing. Feeling a little lighter? If the past year held joy and growth for you, may that sweetness continue to bless you. If the past year held pain and bitterness, may fire transform those burdens, leaving you renewed for the journey ahead. Let us look to the new year with hope and curiosity about its many unknowns, with faith in our strength to navigate it with grace and the courage to be changed. Our closing hymn is number 58, Ring Out Wild Bells, a song about welcoming the new year. Please rise as you are willing and able. Our closing words are from the poet Pablo Neruda, La Poesia. And something ignited in my soul, fever or unremembered wings, and I went on my way, deciphering that burning fire, and I wrote the first bare line. Bare without substance, pure foolishness, pure wisdom of one who knows nothing. And suddenly I saw the heavens unfastened and open. May the new year bring you joy, hope, and peace. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace. Please be seated for the prelude, and then as your final act of worship, turn and invite somebody to sit with you at lunch.